Welcome to another edition of the God Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, my co-host, Donovan Moore.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And today we have a special guest. Please welcome Charla Ward to the show.
Yeah.
How you doing, Charla?
Hello. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, no problem, of course. So Charla used to play for the women's soccer team at HPU. Her first, was it 2 years or 3 years?
Technically, I was on the team all 4 years. I just didn't play. My first year I redshirted, I had an ACL injury. And then my last year I ended up being removed before the season.
Okay, I got you. So due to unfortunate circumstances, she was no longer able to play on the team. So today, basically, we're just going to talk to her about why that was the case. So please give us a thumbs up on the video, like and subscribe, all of that type of stuff. And enjoy the intro.
You ready to play, boy?
Yo, turn it up, Slack. I can't hear nothing.
All right, so this is our first interview, really, but we don't really have to ask any questions. So I guess we just kind of sit back and just let you talk, Charla. So I guess whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
And you guys can just ask questions because I'm sure there's going to be questions along the way. It's a really, really long story. Like when I have to tell it, because I ended up going into an investigation situation with my school. It takes hours to tell the whole thing, so there might be some gaps. So feel free to answer or ask any questions. I'll answer anything. I think the most important thing going into the story is understanding that the head coach at High Point right now, Brandy Fontaine, she was my club coach. So I met her when I was 12. So it's not even this is surface level. It's this really got personal because I've known you my whole life, basically, for a whole decade. So that's really important. But going into last summer, I already had some tensions with my coaches. We have way too many girls on the roster. I think we rostered 38 people at our highest, which is ridiculous because our soccer program at High Point only offers 11 full scholarships that you have to divide up among multiple people. And I was on a full athletic scholarship for 5 years. That was my offer. I got that when I was 14. Signed my name to it. NCAA rules do say they can change it throughout any time. But I'm going to kind of keep that section, that section of the story out of it because it's a lot of unnecessary information. But long story short, they're saying they're going to reduce my scholarship. They're telling me because I wasn't playing well, but my stats say otherwise, whatever. I think it's just because we had way too many people coming on the team. We brought in international kids. They're usually always on a full scholarship. So I was already going into the summer knowing that I wasn't able to finish my spring semester off because of COVID. They sent us home and they were going to judge my scholarship off of how I played in the spring. Since we got sent home, they went ahead and just said they were going to pull it. They dropped it from 100% to a 10% the week before tuition was due.
Bruh. So
that was rough. That's 50, 60 grand I had to pull out my ass.
Right.
Shout out to student loans.
Right.
So all that was going on. And then obviously George Floyd was murdered. And I think every other Black person, I think the world, we were just shook at getting so much recognition from everybody else. I feel like it wasn't anything new to us, but the way that white people and other people that non-people of color were reacting was strange because it was you're realizing it now, now you see it.
Right.
And my coaches are white. One of my coaches is from the UK, he's from Europe. And my other coach, her grandfather is Black, but they're just reconnected recently. She's very much white passing, but we'll get to why that's relevant. I have other girls who are mixed on the team. I was the only fully Black girl at the time there. Not saying that makes a difference, but I feel like I have a different experience than those girls. My head coach did reach out to those girls before me. She told me that she did that because she thought I'd be too angry to speak with her. Stereotypes, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why she would think that.
Yeah.
Right.
I've known her 10 years and I've never been, if you know me like Mitch, I'm not an angry person. You can vouch for me on that. I am so chill.
I think I've seen you angry one time, but it was at a party or something like that. So
the frats don't count.
Right.
The frats don't count.
Frats don't count.
But
right. Other than that, I haven't seen you mad. Nah.
usually I'm a really chill person. Like, it takes a lot to actually get under my skin to get me to react. So to me, that was kind of like sus. And I was like, oh, this isn't gonna go the way I thought it was gonna go. So she waited a couple weeks to reach out to me. My other coach, who's from the UK, reached out to me immediately, which I thought was really funny. So I was like, you would think the girl who pulls her black card when it, you know, thought she would be the, okay. So basically we ended up going through different types of team meetings, race relation meetings that she gave me like opportunities to speak up to, like, and tell my experiences that I've had like with my teammates that might have like made me uncomfortable that I wouldn't have said in the moment, because if we complained about every little thing that happens at a PWI, we would always be complaining. So I spoke that. It was received pretty well. I only had like a couple of people who were like throwing all lives matter in my face on my team, like 2 max, that were like just real disrespectful with it. And I was like, that's fine. Like 2 out of like 36 people could be worse. But they just kept asking, like, what can we do? Like, how can we help? Like, how can we show support? And when I would give examples of ways they could do that, they'd be like, okay, but how else? Like, they weren't taking my advice, you know? So I was like, I don't know what else you want me to say. Like, just release a statement. And my coach was like, oh, I'll release a statement. Doesn't release a statement. So now I'm like, okay, well, since you're not listening to me behind closed doors, I'm gonna take stuff to Instagram. I'm going to put you on display, and I'm gonna let other people criticize you so that you realize it's not me. Like, I'm not like, trying to make you look bad. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but like, you're now dismissing my feelings. Don't ask if you don't care. I'd just rather you not ask instead of acting like you care. I went through every single team in our conference. I screenshotted all of their statements they put out throughout the summer, because now it's like July, so it's been months. So I screenshotted all those and I posted on my Snapchat or my Instagram story. And I went back to the head coach at High Point was somebody different my first year. And then the assistant coach, which was my club coach, Brandy, stepped up to the head coach position my sophomore year. Right. But the first head coach had a lot of issues with the people on the team. We never had any problems. Again, I wasn't playing. I was rehabbing that whole first year, but he was kind of known for being a little insensitive, and he had put out like 3 different statements. So I took those and posted those, and then I left a question and answer box. And I basically was like, what do you guys feel about this? Because the school, like High Point, released a Juneteenth video. The SGA put together a really well put together video, released it for Juneteenth, basically just acknowledging it. And my team chose not to post anything, but then they were posting all this stuff for July 4th. So I was like, oh, I'm done. Like, that's when I kind of just snapped.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, screenshotted their post for July 4th or whatever. And I said, what are y'all's opinions about this? And people were like, I'm appalled. Like, I'm not donating to the soccer program anymore. I'm pulling my donations. I'm not sending my kids there. It was bad. Like, it got a lot more attention than I thought it was gonna get. My Instagram stories maybe get like 500 or 600 views, like tops. I was getting like 1,000, 1,500 views whenever I started posting this stuff. Like, soccer coaches from all over the country were looking at my post. And of course, High Point University was like, sis, what are you doing?
Right.
It started a lot of drama. And I basically that was when my soccer career kind of ended. Whenever I put them on blast like that, that's when it was over. So let me go with my notes. All right. So after basically that had happened, my coaches stopped all communications with me. Now, Coach Fox, the one from the UK, he was like sending me stuff like, is this a good place I should be getting information? Is this a good source? Like, he was really trying to be proactive with me. So really, this is not really have to do anything about him. It's all about my head coach, who I think was doing her best to like protect herself instead of looking at the interests of the team, because it turned into like, people were coming to me, like basketball players and volleyball players from High Point were like, what's wrong with your team? And people were coming at my girls, and I was like, it's not my girls. Like, it's not my girls at all. Like, the team looks really bad because the coaches are not doing their part, but everybody thought the team was like being really racist, and they were not. I mean, a couple of them were, but not all of them by any means.
The majority of the team, right.
Right. So I was like out here trying to defend the team. I was also like the spokesperson for all the people of color on the team. So like, and I don't mind being that person. Like, that's fine for me. I don't mind having that pressure, but it was just kind of like, what the heck? Like, there's no way I should be getting hundreds and hundreds of DMs from people asking if I need help out of my situation. Like, other college soccer players, coaches were like texting me or DMing Instagram, like, you good? Like, do you need us to intervene? And I'm like, I'm fine. I just need these people to realize that this is a bigger deal than they thought it was going to be. My coach had texted the 2020 graduates, so the girls who had already graduated from the program, there was like 7 of them. And she texted them in a separate group message and was like, there are being lies told about the program. If you want to know something, come to me for the truth, like putting things in all caps. And of course, those people are also my friends. So they were sending it to me like, what is she talking about?
Right, yeah.
And basically my coaches stopped all communications. They stopped communicating with the team. So throughout the whole summer, from May all the way to like August, the girls are texting me like, hey, like, have you heard anything from Brandy? Are there going to be any updates on like our initiatives changing? Or are we going to get our stand against racism shirts? Or like, what's happening? And I was like, I don't know. Like, they just didn't talk to any of us. So it just became like this big communicational like shit show. Excuse my language. It was just a mess. And basically my coaches then were like, I don't know, like, it's so childish to me, and I'm so tired of always having to be a bigger person, because the whole time I was trying not to act out, because I, of course, finished my last year. I'm trying to keep my brand clean. I wasn't trying to bring no heat from the school. Like, I'm not trying to get kicked out of school. So she started involving my other teammates, and it got really frustrating. Like, she did this one thing where she texted the seniors in a group message and told them to FaceTime or Zoom call me, to tell me to call her, because she refused to call me. And she said that her justification was, if she reached out to me, then it would be showing that it's okay to disrespect the coaches. But in no way did I disrespect the coaches. If anything, y'all are disrespecting me. So it was very much like childish. I had gone on vacation. My parents were like, absolutely, in no way in hell are you gonna call this lady first. Like, you were, I don't want to say I was a victim, but like, I was the person whose feelings were not being validated. And I was the person who's like, was being ignored and pushed to the side, not the other way around. Like, I was just looking out for the best interests for the team, also myself. I had the only black player on the High Point team before, and it was horrible. Like, the only black player, my freshman spring, I was the only black player on the entire team, and it was tragic. It was very uncomfortable. I was constantly uncomfortable. And my coaches just like literally did not care. I had brought different situations to them. I brought different, like, I don't really want to call people out by name, but like, we've had people dress up for Halloween as thugs and as gang members and come to practice. And I'm like, see, you're misappropriating culture, because a backwards hat and chain does not represent what a thug is. That's not the definition of it. So what do you mean? Why are you drawing fake tattoos all over yourself? That's weird. Why are you asking me to comb your hair? I'm not going to do that. And in those moments when I would speak out, then nobody listened to me, so then I just stopped talking. So now I'm basically like, I've already come to you multiple times when I'm feeling disrespected, and all of a sudden I'm disrespecting you because I got other people's opinions that were the same as mine to show you that I'm not crazy. To me, I feel like I was very classy with the whole thing. I could have really twisted it up and gotten a lot of people involved, and I chose not to. So it was just a whole mess. I remember one time she called me and told me I was being too harsh on my white teammates and making them uncomfortable. After I had given I basically told some of the stories to them back in May in a Zoom call on race relations, my experiences that made me uncomfortable that they had done to me. And a lot of people literally like texted me afterwards, like, I'm so sorry if I ever did anything that was offensive. I had no idea, like, please let me know. Like, next time something happens, please say something. I'm not gonna take offense, stuff like that. And my coach was in my ear like, oh, it was so bad. It was my brother's graduation. Oh, she was on speaker. My parents were like, hang the phone up. Like, hang up the phone. Like, just hang it up. And I was like, no, I can't hang it up. I'm trying to be respectful. But yeah, I was like, literally sat down and I was like, so if you were to open up the stuff that was sent into the group message by my other white teammates, different sources, I was like, you would see definitions. And at the bottom of the page is this one definition for this term called white fragility. And I'm gonna read it for you so you can like stop talking and kind of like reevaluate your feelings, because you're not you're not doing the right thing right here, right now. And that was like the actual last time we spoke like to each other. And that was in May. And that was like July. We're beefing, going back and forth. My teammates, I told them I didn't want them involved. If Brandy wanted to talk to me, she could talk to me. So then I went, let's see, it was the end of July. I was going to get a cortisone shot in my knee so that I could play through the season because I've always had really bad problems with my knee. They did a great job fixing it. I just have cartilage that's missing. There's nothing you can do, just it's a mess. And the day after I went to get this cortisone shot, this was my fault because I wasn't posting anything negative about my coaches this whole time. But Don Lemon was on TV and he was talking about a speech Trump had gave earlier in the day. And we always say like Trump can't read, which one of my Trumper friends said that he doesn't use a teleprompter, which is even worse than. I was like, well, then he's just illiterate and like stupid. But he was saying something, and I always said like Trump has the literacy level of a fifth grader. And we were just like joking about it with my family, and somebody in the room had said he's reading like Brandy, because we had a meeting where Brandy actually addressed that racism is like wrong, and she read very monotone off the PowerPoints, like as the words popped up. So she was like, we all have different religions, backgrounds, and so political beliefs. One thing that we cannot disagree on or ignore is racist. It was like that for like 20 or 30 minutes. Like it was horrible. Right. So somebody in the room just said like, oh, he's reading like Brandy. And I was taking a Snapchat because I was just clowning Trump anyways, because it was funny. And I posted it onto my Snapchat story, mistake. And instantly my captain had seen it, and two other people on my team, which one was very liberal and the other one was not. So I know exactly who it was who told the captain, who then texted me to tell me to take it down. And I was like, yeah, my bad, I'll take it down. It's just a joke, whatever. And she's like, well, it's kind of insensitive. And I was like, well, y'all are kind of insensitive, but we won't get into that.
Right.
He really watch yourself, but like, I'm gonna take it down. I took it down, and of course she reported it to my coach. Again, I guess I can't blame her because people from the team had already seen it, and she was a captain and she had to do what she had to do. She reported me, and the next day I was on the phone with Dr. Hall. You know Dr. Hall, right?
Of course.
From Diversity, Inclusion, and Development.
Yeah.
We love Dr. Hall. We were just catching up. He had actually sat in on one of our Zoom meetings with my team, just kind of moderate from like an adult perspective, like a black man, an adult in the room perspective type of thing. Right. And he kind of knew my coach because they are. So he was just calling me. He wanted me just to tell him about myself because I didn't know him. And this is my senior year, and everybody knew him but me. I don't know how I did not know this man. He's amazing. But we just talked for like an hour and a half, but I told him the whole story, like the whole hour and a half, 2 hour story up to that point, because there's still like a lot after this.
Right.
And I said, well, you won't talk to me. But then she called my phone. I said, oh my gosh, she's calling me. I'm gonna call her back whenever I get off the phone with you. And I texted her, and I said, sorry, I was on the phone with Dr. Hall. Can I call you back? Which should have been an indication to like not really mess stuff up, because you see I'm talking to like the vice president of diversity and inclusion.
Right.
Like that role. Like if I'm communicating with these people, you would think you would at least try to like clean up your act a little bit. Let me tell you. And you know what? I was told not to even share this, but honestly, it doesn't matter anymore because I graduated. I had a really bad interaction with my coaches in the fall of 2019. D1 athletics is so toxic. It's so horrible and so bad for your mental health. I literally, I told my parents, I was like, I don't want my kids to do athletics. I don't want them to do D1 athletics because it literally, like the amount of therapy I need and I am getting is ridiculous. But the confrontation at my end of the year meeting was so bad that my mom made a 911 emergency meeting for me to go back to therapy, which I hadn't been to therapy since March of 2019. And my therapist wrote a note that says I was never allowed to be, from that point on, in a room alone or talk alone with my coaches ever again. I was always allowed to have my parents present. So every other soccer meeting I ever had with them, like in their office, my parents drove from home to come, my parents only lived 10 minutes from the school, but they were allowed to come sit in the room just to make sure that I wasn't being mentally and verbally abused. And I have that in writing. Whole doctor's note that was filed to the school. So she called me and my parents were recording. So I have everything recorded because at this point I was like, I need to have my shit together. Right. I have the video, like answering the phone, and she's like, is this a good time? I'm like, well, if that's how you're asking if my parents are in the room, because that's what you're supposed to ask before you speak to me, yes. Like, I'm in the room, you're on speaker. And she suspended me for 2 weeks for my social media. That's the only thing she said. She didn't clarify if it was because of the Snapchat that I had posted, which obviously I was like not trying to tell my parents about that one, but anyways, or if it was about everything else I had posted. It was just social media. And prior to that, we're all about this, when we had that Zoom meeting where she was speaking really monotonely, she had like questions at the end, if people had questions. And I felt like that the meeting was really wrapped around how we would like fix our image over like how we would actually like try to change things. It was all about like fixing, like wearing t-shirts and like posting pictures. And I was like, but like, what is that gonna do? And I didn't know I was gonna ask that question before I asked her, or else I would have told some of my other teammates so we could like have had a plan to have a discussion. But I kind of just asked like, how are we going to actually like do something that's like meaningful instead of just focus on like the team's image?
I guess
and
it
she like
seems
really
like,
didn't like that.
Yeah, because it seems like they're not really supporting it, but they're trying to seem like they support it by like wearing t-shirts and stuff like that. You're like, how can we actually fix the issue?
They're like, oh no, like
yeah.
And when they're like, oh no, we support you, like what can we do to help? But like you really don't want to help. You just want to say that you asked what you could do to help.
Right.
It was very superficial. The whole thing was really superficial. But then she was like posting stuff on National Loving Day, like this was the day my grandparents were married. She comes her grandfather, the white lady, and all this stuff. And she's posting her black grandpa that I've never seen in the 10 years that I've known her. She's never said anything about him or posted him other than whenever they like reconnected. And I was like, don't try to pull a black card now, ma'am. It's revoked, denied. You don't get to use it, like at all. Not somebody calling me. So, it was so bad. So after I asked that question, she like sat there in silence for like a minute, which is a long time on Zooms. And I was like, did my connection break up? Like, can y'all hear me? And she was like, I just think what we're implementing will be like good enough to cover all of that. And I was like, so now I was like, all right, so I'm either gonna pop off and like really show out and be a stereotypical angry black woman right now, or I'm going to nicely just remove myself from the situation. So she said, okay, that's all I have for you guys today. And I closed my laptop and like left the meeting. And all our meetings are recorded. So she said I was suspended when she called me for my social media and for leaving a Zoom meeting without permission. When I went back to look at the recording of the film, how long do you think I left before the end of the meeting? Just guess.
I don't know, like 5 minutes or something? It wasn't that long.
A few minutes, yeah. 2-3 minutes.
I left 23 seconds early.
Bruh.
23 seconds. The last thing she said, all right, that's all I have for you guys today. Oh, and she was talking to my goalkeeper. She said, oh, and Morgan, you're going to be really excited to see the new goalkeeper set we have for you. It's sick. And then people left. That's all I missed. That's all I missed. 23 seconds. It was like that. So I was like, all right, fine, whatever. So like I'm in the phone call because I thought she was calling to like talk it out. Like talk out like what had been happening all summer. That's all she said. I said, is that all? And she said, yes. I said, okay, thank you. Hung up. Then I texted back, or I was in the video and I was laughing. My mom said, we're gonna have to crop this out. We were laughing in the video like this is not real life. Like she is really what? Right. Whatever. I was suspended, but I texted her. I said, I need all my rules in writing. I've been put on suspension before, freshman year, because I missed study hall. Miss study hall, you will have to be suspended. It's part of the rules, whatever. I was like, I need my rules in writing, what I can and cannot do, and do I need to report? Because we were supposed to report like 2 days. It was like, we report August 3rd. Classes don't start till like August 20 something, right. 26. We report early so we can do our preseason. So I had to sit out for preseason, which is the hardest part of the year. So I was like, yo, you're just giving me my summer back because I took summer classes, and now you're giving me 2 weeks off. And she said I had to come to school, but I could not do anything with my teammates. I could not do any of the team bonding. I could not come to any of the practices. I could not eat with them in the cafeteria. Anytime they went to the caf, I was not allowed to be in the room. They sent me times and schedules I could eat, which I was like, I'm not about to be on your schedule. I'll just go get food. I'll have my parents bring me food. Wasn't allowed to leave campus, but the pools were open. So I was like, that's fine. I'll sit here for 2 weeks and go to the pool every day while y'all are outside busting your asses. My dad came to the track, we trained, I did track workouts. Because at this point, I was like, I'm switching sports. Because if you didn't know, I'm a ranked track athlete. I hold records all over North Carolina. I should have went for track. I really should have gone for track. My number one competitor, she's so talented. Her name's Tamara Clark. Just ran like the 4th fastest NCAA time all time, like 2 days ago. And we were the fastest girls to come through Guilford County. They wrote an article on us. Basically, I should have ran track. So my dad was like, nah, bump this. I'm bringing your spikes. And we don't do track works out. So that's the best way I get in shape anyway. So I was like, that's fine. I was outside. They would get off the field. I would walk on. I would do track workouts. I would do ball work and I would leave like every day. And I don't think they expected me to do that. So I was like, whatever. So I did my 2-week time in prison, basically, because nobody was on campus. And my teammates were always dead, doing 2 or 3 practices a day, lifting, meetings, all that stuff. I was just kicking it. So I come back. Now it's like September. I have to go through the COVID protocol, so I'm not allowed to do contact first week, I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm non-contact, so when you're non-contact and they do contact things, they basically just kick you over to the side, you do whatever. So I was like juggling and like shooting on the D of the field, so it's like the field, and then it's like the lacrosse D behind the, you know what I'm talking about? I was back there doing whatever I wanted to do with like the injured people. Then I had a week contact where I was kind of coming back in and doing some stuff, and then our team all got contact traced. I think like 22 people got contact traced, something ridiculous, like only 94 at practice. So that was 2 weeks off, but in my last week in quarantine, I was cleaning my refrigerator and my roommate we had opened the freezer. I don't even know if I opened it or somebody else opened it. I was cleaning out all the extra quarantine food in our refrigerator and I straight up and like really snapped my head on the freezer door and concussed myself. So then I was like, like that's embarrassing for one, like it's really embarrassing, but two, like now I'm going to be out for real. Right. And while we were in quarantine, because one of my roommates actually did end up having COVID, she called and texted all 3 of my roommates except for me to check on them. And I had a concussion. And they knew I had a concussion because I called the athletic trainer and I was having to do all those tests every day. I wasn't allowed to sit on my classes online, like none of that. Like I was actually very severely concussed. And she did not once like text or call or check on me. And whenever I came back to practice, she didn't speak to me. Like I still have not heard a word from her.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, like your roommates were soccer, like girls on the soccer team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And 2 of them were on the club team as well. 2 of them have known her as long as I have, and the other one was an injured player. But the point is, she texted all of them just to be like, just, hey, how are you doing in quarantine? Everybody except for me. Right. Knowing that I would know that. Right. Because we're in this. So just petty little stuff like that. So I came out of quarantine, was concussed, had to go through the concussion protocol. I was out for another 2 weeks or so. I would say it was a long time. Like I wasn't able to bike for like a whole week after I got out of quarantine. So now it's like October-ish. I get cleared from my concussion. I come back. Again, I have to be non-contact. And then I can work into some scrimmaging things. And then the first real scrimmage I was going to be able to play. I was really nervous because I was like, I haven't played. All summer I didn't scrimmage. I came back, didn't get to do any scrimmages up, and that was October. Like we moved back 2 months ago and I played 2 weeks of soccer and one of them was non-contact. We had to make sure that we have all these forms filled out in order to be eligible to play, like NCAA and Title IX forms. And I did 3 or 4 out of the 5 modules that needed to be done. And I forgot, I don't know what's happening. It was about to be my 21st birthday. I was coming off a concussion. Blame it on what you want. I was swamped with schoolwork. It was midterm week. And basically I just forgot to fill out the last of the freaking forms. So I show up on the day of the scrimmage and she pulls me in her office and she's like, yeah, because you failed to complete the modules, you're no longer a part of the program. And I was like, oh, okay, like, thanks. And like walked out and called my parents. I was like, hey, you don't need to come to the scrimmage because I got kicked off the team. And they were like, And I was like, oh. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, damn, they caught me. They've been waiting for me to slip up. I slipped up. But here's where it got messy, which is what led to the whole investigation, was that after the practice where she basically shit talked about me to the team after the scrimmage, because I stayed for the scrimmage. I was gonna watch y'all play. Parents and stuff came. My little was like, yeah, but she didn't text you? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, last night I forgot to finish them too, and she texted me. And I said, she texted you. She's
Wow.
like, message. She had texted 4 or 5 of other girls who had forgotten to finish their modules, like, hey, don't forget to finish your modules by tomorrow, and just didn't text me on purpose. And when I told that part to Student Life, they're like, file a report. Like, you need to file a report.
Yeah. That's
And
crazy.
Student Life, I had to go to Student Life because they basically like want to make sure you're adjusting from NARP or from athletic to NARP life, which NARP is like a non-athletic regular person, is kind of what we call the people who aren't athletes. And when I told them that, they're like, nope, I'm gonna file a report for you. They filed a bias report for me, sent me to diversity and inclusion, who also got the report, decided that it needed to go to HR, sent it to HR, and they did a 4-month-long investigation on them. I think the case file was like this big. And just to wrap it up, I sent every Zoom video I had ever been on. I sent the call where I got kicked off the team. I sent all my documentation from my, because I appealed my scholarship stuff, all that stuff to them. I sent all the supportive messages from my teammates. I sent private messages where Brandy was literally talking crap about me to other teammates in writing, sent that to them. I sent everything that I had of me on video to show that I'm not aggressive. I haven't been aggressive in any way towards anybody in this entire situation. They tried to work with me the best they could, and this was the conclusion. Now I sent a bias report. It didn't have to be racial. It was just about discrimination. I'm being treated differently than everybody else. I don't know why. I think it's due to race relations because of what's happened, but you could say it's anything. I don't know why. Maybe she just woke up and didn't like me anymore, but I'm being treated differently, obviously. And you know, High Point, I mean, I wasn't expecting much, but I mean, like, damn, they were like, yeah, well, since she's an employee of the school, there's like, what's it called? Employee, what is it called? When you can't disclose all the information about something, confidentiality. Confidentiality, put in place for employees. So they're like, we can't tell you exactly how we had to discipline her, but this was by no means a win for her. And I was like, okay. And I was kind of looking at them. They're like, and I was like, I mean, it just sucks that she's like, it's not illegal to be mean, but I was told to file this case. Like, I wasn't even going to do anything. And then this is what it amounts to. And they're like, well, she still was disciplined. And I was like, but you can't tell me how, and that's sus. So I'm gonna assume they did nothing. And
does she still have a position?
She surely does. They got coaching staff of the year.
Bruh. So they didn't do shit, bro. For they didn't do shit. Yeah.
And she kicked off the entire junior class 3 weeks ago. What do you
mean kick them
She
off?
released.
Like, she just released the team.
Not to come back. Everybody in the junior class but 3 people.
Disclosure though, we have 6 minutes left on this call, so like,
that's fine. That's why I kind of just. But that's the story. That's everything that happened. It amounted to basically nothing, and I went on with my life, and she never spoke a word to me. And they did 9 different interviews during the investigation. They had all this stuff. I mean, I just told everybody if they have a problem with her on their way out, if they want to file an anonymous complaint, then do it, because she already has a case against her here and they can't ignore it forever. But the whole athletic department basically said, fuck you. They wouldn't give me my athletic sash for graduation. So I used all my friends for their pictures and stuff like that. They literally, I don't know. I played 3.5 years there, and that's all you play for soccer, because you usually don't play your spring semester. Because usually conference is in the fall, but it was only in the spring this year because of COVID. Right. So technically I played my time, and they still wouldn't give me my stuff.
So like, what is the point of you guys signing contracts, 5-year contracts or whatever like that? If they
right.
can take that away.
Per year. It's per year. So I signed 5 years full. Decided I wasn't going to take my 5th year when they started treating me like crap in 2019. Right. I fixed all my grade stuff. I took my summer classes so I could make sure I would graduate with more credits than needed. I didn't want any type of slip ups where I had to be at school longer than needed to be. But technically, your NCAA says you can change your scholarship amount from year to year. So after a certain date, they can't change it. So if she would have been like, yeah, well, you didn't get to finish your spring semester that I said would like dictate whether we would keep your money or not. So we're going to just go ahead and honor your scholarship for this year. And then for your 5th year, we'll reevaluate, which is what I really thought they were going to do. They just said, fuck it, we're just going to take it anyways. Right. Which is because they over recruit. They have like 12 girls coming in the fall and only 3 left. That's why they had to kick off so many people.
Bro, I feel like you can't just kick people off the team, especially their junior year, like, and then you just make them pick all that up. Right. Like, you just got to pick all that up at once. That's crazy. Like, they just leave you.
No. It's actually ridiculous, and I couldn't talk about it for a long time because they're in the middle of the investigation. That didn't end until like March, and then I pledged, and I obviously could not be active in giving out stories while I was in the intake process. So that's when you were like, "Can you come on to the podcast?" I was like, "I can't."
You were
right
like,
now.
"Yo, just give me like 2 weeks," and I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah,
give me
okay.
a couple weeks, and then I'll be able to talk about it.
All right, I got you. But since we got like 3 minutes left, I'm actually like one more question, and then we gonna end it. So like,
Okay.
I know like there's like I know a few black girls on the soccer team now. So like, are you still in contact with any of them, or like, what are you like telling them
Yeah.
about the whole situation? Like,
Everybody knows everything. All the black kids I was keeping them updated throughout the whole conversation, and I had my little was Bree. When I got removed from the team, my roommate Morgan, who is mixed, she's black and Hispanic, she actually kind of adopted her and took her under her wing, and her little was London, who was also black, and they're
that's
from
the two I
Maryland.
know.
They're from
Yeah, I know Bree and London. Yeah, those are two I know.
Yep. And I mean, I'm still cool with everybody on the team except for those couple of racist people. And I'm just trying to have their back because I'm really worried about how they're going to be treated with their time. They're only going into their sophomore year, so I'm very much like, keep me updated, and I'm willing to take the fall for anything. I was ready to cut up last year because I was like, I have nothing to lose. Y'all are just getting here. I'm on my way out. Like, I'll take all the heat for everything. So even when they would tell me things, or like other people on the team would say things that they were too scared to say or didn't want to get bad feedback, like, I throw it out there. Like, I would post it. I would talk to my coaches about it instead. So I'm very much connected with the kids on the team still. Yeah.
Okay, well, got you. Well, I hate to like rush you off, but we only got 2 minutes left. But like, definitely thank you for coming on the show and talking about everything. We definitely.
The tea, the exclusive, because nobody knows. I've never explained the whole situation just like a regular person that wasn't involved.
Yeah, so we got it hot off the press. So yeah, definitely appreciate you. But thank you guys for watching the God Next podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Make sure you leave a like, a comment, all of that type of stuff. And I will see you next week.
Yeah.